Hello. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Rosmi.
Hi, sir.
ঠিক আছে না মই সোমাইছো বাৰু
ঠিক আছে আমি স্টার্ট কৰিম আৰু এতিয়া
কোন সেমিস্টাৰ লৈ চলি আছে
স্যাৰ এখিনি অকল সেমিস্টাৰ বুলিয়ে নহয় ইউজি পিজি আৰু ৰিসাৰ্চ স্কলাৰ গোটেইখিনি আছে
বঢ়িয়া বঢ়িয়া ঠিক আছে হ'ব
ঠিক আছে So we are going to start our international webinar, CAM Interactive session. Science is a beautiful gift to humanity. We should not distort it, said by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Scientific research is the core of innovation and discoveries throughout the world that helps us to extract the miracles of science and distribute in the society. It also helps in rethinking and revision of accepted theories or laws in the light of new facts. A very good afternoon to one and all participating in the international webinar cum interactive session on opportunities to pursue scientific research in European countries. Hope you all are doing fine. I am Dr. Rosmilekha Soikia, coordinator of today's webinar from Department of Zoology, JB College, Jorhat. It is our greatest privilege to have Dr. Pansali Goswami, a very promising scientist, with us. We are very happy that you have spared your precious time for all of us. On behalf of all members of organizing committee of JB College, I would like to express our great pleasure in welcoming all of you to this international webinar cum interactive session. I believe that today is going to be a great day for all of us, since we are going to enrich our knowledge and discover new opportunities interacting with a very resourceful person. Hope we all can extract the best out of it. With this, we would like to move ahead. And during the session, if anybody has any queries, so they can put their queries in the chat box. And now I would like to hand over the microphone to our HOD, Rupamani Das Hazarika Madam, to welcome for her welcome address. Over to you, ma'am.
Beyond our horizon. গতিকে এনেধৰণৰ ইণ্টাৰেক্টিভ ছেশ্যন বেচিকেলি ডক্টৰ পাঞ্চালী গোস্বামী who is from ইনষ্টিটিউটৰ কথা মই ভালদৰে নাজানো, anyway, United Kingdom. I hope our students, not only students, including me also, we have limited knowledge regarding the scope that lies beyond our horizon. And I hope that today's discussion, it is not a one-way traffic. Our students, I welcome our students to participate actively. Whatever comes to their mind, they should clarify, because this is a nice opportunity for an interaction with a person who knows more than.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging and informative words. So we also hope this interactive session will be a great success. And now, before going to start the presentation by our resource person, I would like to briefly introduce her in front of you all. Dr. Pansali Goswami completed her master's from Tezpur University in the Department of MBBT and earned her PhD from. She was a researcher in famous Francis Crick Institute, United Kingdom, where she had extensively worked on replication of DNA. She is having a brilliant academic career. She also worked extensively on the discovery of biomarkers for early detection of lung cancer in Luxembourg Institute of Health, Luxembourg. Presently, she is working as an investigator and R&D scientist supporting structure-based drug designing at GlaxoSmithKline, UK. She is having skill sets in multidisciplinary research. She has published peer-reviewed articles in reputed journals like Nature, Nature Communications, European Molecular Biology Journal, etc. We wish her all success in her life. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Pansali Goswami to start her presentation. Over to you, Pansali ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. I mean, it was a lot of glorified introduction, but what I would like to keep this session very informal. And the reason behind is that when Rashmi wrote to me about this webinar, the first thought that came to my mind is that this is an opportunity to reach out to all the ambitious individuals, all the aspiring students from my home, from my hometown. So I thought I should take this opportunity because I remembered my journey, which was in 2002, 2003, without much internet I know Rashmi would remember our Tezpur University Internet Center, where we would struggle to get some internet, and my journey from that point. So I thought with today's technical advances, it will be a good way to reach out to those many students who want to make a career in an international environment. So I didn't want to give very long presentation because I want to keep the time to interact, to hear what you want to know. But still, I thought maybe something visualizing and to visualize what we do and how we do, and to just give you some images. Sometimes it helps to have an image in your mind. So I have prepared a very small presentation, but I would like to utilize the time mainly interacting. So if you have questions, please, that's what I want to do. So I'll go to my presentation. Please let me know if you can. Can people see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So Rashmi already mentioned about my journey from Assam, India. So I'm from Guwahati, but I did my master's in biotechnology from Tezpur University, and Rashmi was a year junior to me, so I know her from then. I'm really happy where she is now. And from there, what I missed here, I went to Bangalore and I did a small 1-year job in a pharmaceutical company called Unichem Laboratories. At that time, I applied for my PhD. That's something I would like to say. Keep looking out for opportunities. And I used to spend time after my job looking at scientific journals. And one day I came across an advert for a PhD position in Germany. And I was thinking about America, but from coming from a middle class family, having to pay $100 for each university in America was a big thing. So at that time, finance was was not easy. I didn't have a very strong financial background. So I'll make a very honest presentation. So in Unichem Laboratories, I used to get 10,000 rupees per month, and I had to pay for my PG and everything else. So when I looked at this job advert in Frankfurt, PhD advert, I wrote to one had to go there for the interview. I wrote to them that, I wouldn't have the money to buy a flight ticket to go to Germany. And immediately I had a very supportive email that we'll pay everything for you. You just come for the interview. So, sometimes you just have to be not shy and you have to just grab opportunities. And that's how my journey began. So after my PhD, I moved to Luxembourg. That was more because my husband had to move. But still, I grabbed an opportunity there as well in Luxembourg. And finally, this time, I wanted to broaden my research experience, and I moved to UK. So that's my journey. And what I wanted to tell you is that, there are opportunities everywhere. What Bimal Bara sir had mentioned, you just have to grab it. And of course, a big part of and I never leave them out, my 2 children. So I'm a mother of 2. So research is a very demanding career. So I have to balance between both. And currently I'm working in drug discovery in a pharmaceutical company. And I work with proteins. And what I try to do is I try to take images of proteins. There are targets for drugs. So I take images using the electron microscope. And once I have the 3-dimensional picture of the protein, the chemist, the ones who can measure how to develop the drug. In a very brief summary, I have put in my technique, my skills. And in my spare time, we work for raising funds for underprivileged education in India. So that is a big part. So I have a deep interest in education and in my country. So I'll very quickly take you through a talk from bench to bedside. what I want to give you a flavor is when you pop a medicine into your mouth with a glass of water, I think most of us don't think what it takes to get the drug to you. It's a long journey. The antibiotic that you pop into your mouth or a painkiller, it's a long journey. So that's where I'm involved. So why I call a bench to bedside is that something you develop on a laboratory bench and that reaches to your bed. So you have an ambition when you develop a drug. There's always a long pipeline and there are many challenges. And I'll give you a very short example of a drug called Herceptin, which is used to treat breast cancer. Breast cancer is curable these days, and that is all because of the hard work from many researchers. Of course, exceptional, some very aggressive ones, but it's one of the most curable form of cancer these days. We all know what is a drug. It's a chemical, it's a medicine. It can be non-chemical as well. So what does it do? It helps us treat, cure, prevent, or diagnose a disease. And also for our well-being. I mean, we take vitamins. That's also for our well-being. So it's a drug. So there are different drugs. There are antibiotics, antidepressant, chemotherapeutic used to treat cancer. So these are all chemical drugs. And then there are protein drugs, which are called as antibodies. How do we know a drug is useful? So when a pharmacist or a scientist develops a drug, they have to keep in mind the efficacy. That means how well it can respond to diseases in the body. Of course, it has to be affordable because it has to reach out to a lot of people. I mean, there are drugs going to Africa where people cannot buy. And so it has to be affordable. It has to be convenient. You can't go to the hospital every time to take an intravenous. So it has to be convenient and it has to be safe. You can't have a drug that might have a toxic reaction in the body. So you have to keep these 4 things in mind, but there are many, many other factors. So how did you ever think, how does one design a drug? I mean, I have showed 2 paths. I mean, one can be trial and error. So you have many compounds that are drugs, and then there are animals, experimental animals who has some symptoms, and those are injected to the animals, and then you see if the symptoms have been gone. So that is a trial and error and an old-fashioned way. But these days, it's more rational drug discovery and it is more mechanism-based drug discovery. So people go into more understanding the cellular mechanism in the body, and you find out, what is going wrong. Say, you have an inflammation. So what is that protein that is actually causing the inflammation? So you identify the target and then you design a drug. So drug discovery is a very long process. So, you have identification, which takes a year, then a year to validate if it's really that, there are a lot of cellular assays that's done to find out if it's really the correct target. Then you have lead identification, where the chemist, they try to design a drug. So this is where I work. Lead identification, I try to give the chemist a picture of how the drug reacts with the target. And then there are preclinical and clinical, where it's tested on humans and animals and it finally approved. So it's a really long process. So average is 14 years. Can you believe it? It's 14 years. And 85% of the drugs fail. And it's almost $2.6 billion to get a drug. So, we scientists, we don't earn too much, to give you a good idea. So we work very hard. But end of the day, the pharmaceutical industries don't make a lot of profit. So I'll quickly give you an idea of Herceptin. This is a non-chemical antibody, which I had mentioned in the beginning. So this is a very successful story, but you'll get an idea by end of this how much time it took to get to this success. So Herceptin is an antibiotic therapeutic drugs. So antibodies are proteins. So they're, as I said, non-chemical. Antibodies are made by the immune system, and they bind to specific markers or cells on tissues. And, this is we naturally produce antibodies. But then in the laboratory, you can make one type of antibodies. These are called monoclonal antibodies. And these monoclonal antibodies are used in cancer. This is a really new way of treating cancer. and it causes less reactions, less chemical toxicity in the body. So it is one of the very desired form of treatment these days. In 1908, this idea of using antibodies came up, and you see from 1908 to 1975, the first monoclonal antibodies, that means, an antibody that can be used in disease, was discovered. It's many years of work that took us to having that. And then you had to commercialize it. Having a concept in the lab, in the bench, is not going to help the patients. So a pharmaceutical company or a laboratory has to take up to make it available to everyone, to the common mass. So from 1975 to 1990, Genentech scientists could design this drug, which is known as Herceptin, which is used for breast cancer treatment. So I'm just giving an idea, this whole concept, how much time it took. It started in 1990 and it has gone to 2006. But still now, because of this drug, because of the hard work of so many scientists and the hard work of so dedicated time, many people have got their life back. People have been able to live, despite being diagnosed with breast cancer. So now I'll come to the main topic that we will make it more interactive. How to successfully make an application to an European university, The first question in mind that you all should have: do you really want to take up research? It's a hard path, but I'm not discouraging, but you have to have the motivation, you have to have the dedication, and you have to have the willing to sacrifice some bit of your precious time. So the first thing is you really have to be serious about it. You have to identify your interest. Now, when you say research in life science, I know you're all a life science, biotechnology. It's a very vast field. I think the first thing that comes to my mind, in which area? I mean, there's so many things. You hear about genetics, you hear about cell biology, bioinformatics. The other day I had a message from someone in Dibrugarh University asking me about bioinformatics. So there are many different fields. I mean, I could fit in only 4 in this slide, but there are many more. It's not easy for an undergrad student or a student who's doing masters, or even a researcher, to identify what is it that I can. I mean, a simple way is, I would say, are you very mathematical or are you more biology oriented? I think that is an easy way to identify. Have you got a strong interest in computer? I mean, a computer and biology is a very strong combination. So someone who knows computer languages, like Python, Java, C++, people have this aptitude. I didn't have it. I have to be honest. So I never chose bioinformatics, but I would really encourage someone who has both the combination to go into that line, because slowly it's going to be more artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these things are coming up. So if someone has that knack for, with computer and also same time good in life sciences, I think it's a very good field. But, people who are more into biology should also know that there are opportunities for them. Then they're chemists. I think chemistry is a very important subject for people who are studying biology. Never leave chemistry. Keep chemistry, if you have spare time, try to, if it's not your main subject, try to invest some time in chemistry. Because end of the day, when you go higher up in research, it's all about chemicals. It's all chemical, you go to molecular level, you go to atomic level. So I would say have a broader interest in science. Of course, you have an interest in one discipline, but have a broader interest as well. That's what I wanted to say. So identify your interest. That's number 1 point. Now, in the very beginning, I mentioned about our time in Tejpur University when we had to go to the computer center to get internet facility. These days, you students have no excuse. I know there is internet. Everyone has internet on their phone. If you have time for Facebooking, if you have time for WhatsApp and searching and, finding out TikTok videos, and you should have time to search. I think no one can help you in that. The more you search, the more successful you will be. At my time, again, I mentioned I didn't have a mobile phone. So I took to that journal, Nature, where I found an advertisement that took me to Germany. So these days, you should spend time on your phone. You have your phone, everyone has a phone. Search, search, and search. This is the mantra I'm telling you. So this is what I have pasted is not information. These are countries everyone knows. This is a search. I searched yesterday, actually, sitting down, because I can't tell you this is the only country that you can apply to. When I searched, these countries came up, but there are many, many, many more. Germany, of course, it's the country where I started my international career. I would really recommend Germany. There are many places in Germany, even smaller cities. They really like to welcome international students. They offer funding. As I said, I didn't have money to buy the flight ticket, and I got the flight ticket from them. So if you should reach out to them, and they would really support you. UK, of course, UK is a bit more competitive. So because UK is like a center of everyone from rest of India also applies. I mean, we are from Assam in one corner, and people who I have always seen that people who come from mainland India, like Mumbai, Delhi, they have a more advantageous. They're in a more advantageous situation. So they know they have laboratory facilities, they have more access to getting projects. And I know how is it to come from. Things have changed drastically in Assam now, but from my times it was not easy. France also welcomes students. Netherlands is a very great country to do research. It's English speaking as well. People speak a lot of English. Australia, Italy, the list goes on. So what I'm showing here is just an example. And these are all European countries. What I did, I thought, let me take a map of Europe to give you of course, Russia, keep it out now. With the current situation, no one would want to go Russia. But the countries that I want to highlight are the Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, Finland. They have a lot of opportunities for foreign students, and they have a lot of funding for research and a very multidisciplinary research approach. You might not want to stay there forever, but this is like a door to go abroad. Once you come here, you can spend your PhD in first part, and then you can move anywhere. So at least you are abroad. You have the financial stability, because once you get a PhD position, you will be offered a fellowship every month. That gives you some confidence. When you have their money is important. When you have money in your hand, you have the confidence. Okay, maybe I can try somewhere else. You have that, you don't want to go every time. And it's a long career research. You can't keep asking money to your parents all the time. So, you'll have that independence. And as I pointed out, France, Germany, Czech Republic, I've seen that there are a lot of international students now. Prague, then you have Budapest, Austria, Spain, Italy. So these are small countries that are now really opening up to research and to foreign students and accepting. So the journey that I will tell you is that first identify your research. Maybe go to one country, search what are the best universities, write to a professor, don't be shy. If you say, okay, I want to do something in genetics, you find a good professor in genetics, write to him. Would you support me, if I want to carry on further research? So, just explore. It's not a one-stop shop kind of thing that it's, you apply once and it's gone. You have to apply many times. And you have to write and you have to interact. So based on your, and I would also encourage to get some practical. It's very difficult, I know, because there's so many people and not too many projects. And those who can go out of Assam, try to go out of Assam. Those who can stay in Assam, you have Tezpur University, you have Guwahati IIT. And I think nowadays there are other places that Guwahati University might have also come up. Try to do like a 1-month project. Ask if you could get some practical knowledge. Try to read scientific. It's hard to reach very tough scientific papers, but try to get some idea what is going on. Maybe reviews, maybe just an abstract, and try to understand what is going on in the current world. Try to identify your research. So it's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of dedication. And based on, if you can get some project experience, some practical involvement, and I think that should come also from the faculty, trying to help them get a placement somewhere for a short time. And it's not easy, I understand, because there are too many people and not too many opportunities. But based on that experience, you can write to group leaders or professors, or that sometimes they want people and there's not enough people, and they would like to just grab you and bring you here. So I would say a lot of dedication, but it's much easier now. You just have to stay focused. I think that's all I had. I can interact now. I think that would be more useful.
Thank you, Pansaliba. It was a nice presentation actually, and I think students, researchers, all who are willing to go to abroad, they can surely try. And yes, hard work. There is no shortcut of success. You have to work hard. So now, our faculty member Pallavi Dwara will compile some of the questions, and she will be helping in this question answer session. And I think students, they can also ask some questions, and language is no barrier at all.
একদম মই অসমীয়াটো ক'ব পাৰো, কোনো কথা নাই। তোমালোকে ইংলিশত আৰম্ভ কৰাৰ কাৰণে মই ইংলিশত আৰম্ভ কৰিলো।
ঠিক আছে,
কোনো কথা নাই।
ওকে, সো মই পল্লৱী দুৱৰা মেডামক হেণ্ড অভাৰ কৰিছো।
কোৱেশ্চনবোৰ পঢ়ি দিবনে মই নিজে?
মই পঢ়ি দিছো কোৱেশ্চন কেইটা। গুড আফটাৰনুন। আমাৰ এগৰাকী ছাত্ৰী পুনম আগৰৱালাই এটা কোৱেশ্চন সুধিছে, Does the students of those European countries have a higher uphold or possibility in those entrance or any kind of examination in comparison to us?
So it will depend on where you want, which level. If you're talking about PhD opportunities, there is never any entrance exam. I mean, you might have to give an interview, but they really like to welcome international students. If you're good, if you're better than someone abroad, of course, they have much more exposure, but that does not mean you should not try. You have to apply, as I said, you have to apply and you have to build your knowledge. I mean, you have to be good, if you're not good, then anywhere, there's no chance in India as well. You have to be dedicated. You have to have some experience. I think all these matters. Your CV will matter. How you prepare your CV is also important.
Okay, thank you. Another student, Asatora, want to know about the academic environment. They are like, how can I fit in with the people there, and is there going to be any difficulties due to language barrier and environment?
Absolutely not. I think everyone is very inclusive, and these days there's a lot of discussion about inclusion and diversity. Everyone is welcome. And Indian people speak much better English than many other European countries. I mean, India English to khub gurutto diu, kintu moi dekhilu je Italy, France, তেওঁলোকে বহুত এনেকুৱা কান্ট্ৰি মানুহে ইংলিছ নকয়, তাহাঁতৰ ইংলিছটো দৰকাৰ প্ৰয়োজন নাই, তাহাঁতৰ নিজৰ ভাষা আছে। সেইকাৰণে তোমালোকে কেতিয়াও এইটো ভাবিব নালাগে, মই ষ্টুডেণ্টছখিনিক কৈছো যে ইংলিছ ফৰফৰাই ক'লেহে মানুহ ছাকচেছফুল হ'ব, সেইটো কথা নহয়।
Okay, thank you. Mehek want to know what strategies do we need to follow while preparing for competitive exam organized to pursue higher studies in European countries?
So something I had shown in the presentation, try to get a project, try to understand about research, try to understand about the topic, one topic at least, find your interest, read about that topic, try to write a small summary, try to write a small summary. If you try to write 1 page, I'm not asking you pages, one summary, what you have understood about that topic. Try to find a professor who is say RNA, something about RNA or DNA. Try to find out who is doing that work and write to that with your summary that you have that interest. I would really encourage students to find who are really motivated for research to get some kind of research experience before.
Okay.
That way you will know what exactly is research. It's not, giving a regular exam and understanding it's very different.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Another student, Kobita, want to know what are the problems or issues faced in research areas, and is it affordable to pursue higher studies abroad?
So it is two different things. Your question has two different things. Higher studies, if you want to go for masters in something, they will not give you funding, but if you go for a PhD, you will have a salary. It is a regular monthly salary. So you will not have financial difficulty. So for going for masters, of course, then you will have to finance your own studies. So if you go for research, you don't have to, they will pay you because you're doing work for them.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Another student want to know how much expenditure is required to pursue higher studies in European countries and the qualifications required for scientific research.
So I'll first, because I answered the first part about expenditure, I'll say about qualification. If you, go for a master's in your own country, you don't need to go abroad, but maybe choose a good subject. As I said, don't give up chemistry. It's an important subject if you want to go in higher research. And of course, if you have a, say, major in geology or botany, keep chemistry with it. And I think this qualification, how much you know your concept, some project experience, all this is a combination in making a successful application. Search in the internet what is going on in the world, which countries have, where, look at one country, look at Germany is a very first one to start with. They have everything. So, try to explore. I would say try to get a project somewhere.
Okay. Thank you, Pansali ma'am. Next, আৰু এগৰাকী সুধিব খুজিছে মেহেক, can using bioinformatics reduce the time required while designing a drug?
Bioinformatics is a support tool. So drug designing is not one, it is many different approaches. It's multidisciplinary. There are many teams working. Bioinformatics is one part of it. And it is useful, but it is not everything, but it is useful. That's what I will say. There are chemists, there are biologists, people who do assays in cells. There are genetics, people use mouse model, people work with animals. So there are many different departments while designing a drug. And bioinformatics, computational modeling, and all this is an important part.
Okay. Then, thank you. Another student wants to know, do the students need to know their native language to study in European countries like Germany, France, etc.?
No, you don't need, because science and research is international. You don't need. So, of course, if you go to the supermarket, now things are changing. In 2004, when I moved, it was not very easy. But still, it was, there are a lot of other students, they help you. Those things are really not something to be worried about. You don't need to know the language. And there are always other senior students who help you, and you get used to it. And in the work part, you don't need, it's all in English.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Sibasri Hojaisa. She wants to know, I am currently working as a faculty of zoology after completing my MSc in life sciences. Okay, thank you. Another question from Pankaj Gogoi. He wants to know what are the advantages in scientific researchers get in European countries. Okay, kiki advantage pai mane European countries. India.
I think funding to sobotse important. Funding to me কেতিয়াও তোমাৰ এবাৰ যদি সোমাই যোৱা চিন্তা নাই যে মোৰ ৰিসাৰ্চৰ কাৰণে ফান্ডিং আহিবনে নাই. Of course to me you cannot be slow and not work hard and take 8 years time. They will then not cut your funding. But usually it is also shorter, 3 to 4 years লাগে বাহিৰত. আৰু সেইখিনি সময় totally fund পাবা. For equipment, for reagents, there everything is available. So it's you get conference, you can go to conferences paid, and of course very learned professors, and you have exposure to knowledge. So I think it's easier path. In India too, there are many good institutes. So don't ignore NCBS. You know, there are many good institutes coming up. They're also.
Thank you. Another question from Nisita Kalita. She wants to know
where together Rashmi, the same department, molecular biology and biotechnology. I have moved to completely something very different. So nothing is fixed. Just get the concept cleared.
Okay, I think she is clear. Another query from Sudarsana Saikya. She wants to know what should be the weightage of a research paper to apply for a foreign university? Weightage of research paper kiba tenuka ase?
Yeah, I mean, মানে হেতু কবলে টান তোমাৰ এতিয়া যদি কোনোবাই বাহিৰৰ পৰা এপ্লাই কৰে হাই ইম্প্যাক্ট ফ্যাক্টৰ, কিন্তু মই যেটো কৈ আছো ৰিসাৰ্চ এতিয়া কোনেও এক্সপেক্ট নকৰে যে কোনবাই যদি অসমৰ বা মানে তেনেকুৱা কিমানখিনি ফেসিলিটিজ নোহোৱাকে এখন পাবলিকেশন কৰিছে, কামখিনি ভালকে কৰাটো বহুত ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট। তুমি কনসেপচুয়ালি তুমি ক্লিয়াৰ হয় নে নহয়, তুমি যিখন চিঠি লিখিবা তুমি মানে তোমাৰ এটা সামাৰি দি পেলা সেইখিনি ভালকে লিখিবা, সেইটো বহুত মেটাৰ কৰিব। প্ৰথমে যে প্ৰফেসৰ জনে খুলিব ইমেইলখন, খুলি পেলাই ফাৰ্স্ট ইমপ্ৰেশনটো মানুহ মানে যোনে এপ্লাই কৰিছে তেওঁৰ কিমান ইন্টাৰেষ্ট আছে, সামাৰি খিনি কিমান বুজি পাই লিখিছে, সেইখিনি ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট। সো ট্ৰায়াল এণ্ড এৰৰ, কোনোবা এজনে হয়তো খুলিও নাচাব, কিন্তু তুমি তেনেকে কেইবাজনলৈও লিখিবা।
Yes. হয়, ফার্স্ট অ্যাটেম্পটো নহবও পাৰে।
ফার্স্ট অ্যাটেম্প নহয় কেতিয়াও।
হয়। Next a question from Kosik Datta. He wants to know what is the research ethics that goes into creating a balance between a drug and its side effect?
I mean, it is a lot of hard work. So that's what I wrote, if you remember. There's a big failure. So I mean, from my personal experience, sometimes we work on projects day and night, and then we are told it's not going ahead because we see some toxicity. So it is immediately discarded. I mean, there's a lot of control and very tightly controlled. So we have to keep ethics in mind.
Okay. Then another question from Tanzira Hussain. She wants to know, are there certain examinations that we have to clear to pursue higher studies there? And what kind of scholarships can we apply for on the basis of merit?
I mean, if you have good merit, there is no examination. Maybe some it's again I'm repeating this. It's depends on kuntu level to me jabo khoisa, which level. If you're thinking of masters, it's a completely different story. So my recommendation, do your masters in your country unless you have your own funding. If you can afford to do your masters abroad, that is a different story altogether. But not everyone, masters are expensive. I mean, you have to pay college fee to nohoy, university fee nohoy, thaka khwa. So if you can do that in your own country, and then if you go for your PhD abroad, then I think it's easier. And you know, in a PhD level, it's usually an application and an interview. So by PhD, applying for PhD, if you already have some knowledge about the field that you want to apply, then it will be an interview that will screen you.
Okay. Then again, one question from Arpan Sutia. He wants to know why is our country lacking in the field of science that makes students go abroad for further studies?
Absolutely not. We are not lacking in science. So India, I remember in the beginning we say we have great minds, and there are a lot of opportunities in other parts of India. In Assam, we have been slow, but we are catching up. It's still very less opportunities compared to other Indian cities. So, if you don't have to come abroad to make a career in science, you can do everything there. It's just you can have an exposure. You can come abroad for a short time and you can go back to India and make a career. Many of my colleagues have done that. I know someone, Vinod Kumar, he was my colleague and he was a brilliant person. He was in Cambridge. He did a PhD from Max Planck. He has a group in Bangalore in IISC. So you can always pursue a very successful scientific career in India as well. But, if you come out abroad for a short time, you get good money and you can do your PhD quicker. I think that's the advantage. But things are improving in India as well. So I really encourage people not to properly first. I mean, as an undergraduate, try to get good hold of your subjects. Don't ignore. I know I have said it many times. Don't ignore the other subjects like physics or chemistry. If someone has an interest in mathematics and computer science, I think these are important subjects in the future as well. So of course you have to get good grades in your main subject, but don't ignore other subjects and try to prepare yourself. There's a lot of internet access these days. So, search what kind of research is going around in the world. Find out which laboratories in India has opportunities for summer students or, even like a small project. So you have to stay dedicated and focused. And there are a lot of resources around you now. As I said, Facebook ko jodi korbo time pa, search korbo time paba.
Yes, very true. And so Marwata announced Kurilo. So feedback link is given in the Google Meet also and in the YouTube Live also. You can submit your feedback forms. Okay, one student, Manus Protim Sharma, he wants to know what are the career opportunities after PhD except assistant professor?
Both opportunities are you can, like I did some postdoc and then I have come to industry. You can be group leaders, you can be lecturer, you can go back to your India like hurigoi positions bisaribo para faculty hisabe, industry. And some, you might also go for non-research line after a PhD. You can go to consulting. You can go to a financial company and do consulting because, they need someone who knows biotechnology. So I know colleagues who have left for consulting after doing PhD. You can go for sales. You can be a head of sales because a lot of biotechnology equipment, you need someone who understands the science to sell that equipment. So there are many, it's not only you don't have to be a professor, you can be anything else. One of my colleagues, Shivaram, who was in Max Planck, he went back to India and now he's a sales head of the country in one of the top pharmaceutical company.
Yes. One more question we are going to take. Aru basic question ami allow nokoro. What are the areas of animal physiology that currently needs more research? And are there any suggestion of Indian institution that provides good research opportunities?
Animal physiology more iman idea nai, kintu end of the day it is life science, right? There is genetics involved in animal physiology, there is cell biology. I would say, it's good. I'm impressed that you have an idea what you want to do. So it's easy for you actually, whoever has put this question, you understand you want to do animal physiology. I think it's a very easy for you because people struggle what they want to do. Search, I'm sure there are a lot of good institutes in South or even in Delhi to apply for a project or a research, opportunity. I think it's good that you know what you want to do. It's easier, your search.
Okay, so this is the last question that we are taking. Again, Sibasri Hozaisa, ma'am, as a beginner, I find it very difficult to decide on which disorder or disease or ailment I want to work on. Ma'am, is there any method or ways to have us be more decisive, or at least narrow down our options?
You don't have to identify a disease area. That is a career that will come later in your life. First, you have to identify the discipline. I mean, I work in cancer biology. I have worked in cancer, but I work in many different. But I do structural biology. So it is, if you understand, it's, if you do cell biology, I think I recommended cell biology earlier to you. I can remember the name. I'm not sure. But a person who's a cell biologist can also do research in cancer or, inflammatory disease. So the disease is really not important at all. Identify the area that you want to understand. You have to understand the mechanism, genetics, or maybe protein biochemistry. So it can be many different discipline, and what disease is really not your concern at the moment. It is something that will happen in the future. I hope I answered your question.
Yes. So last question again, how to approach for postdoctoral research funding opportunities? L. Dhanakumar Singh.
I think postdoctoral researchers have much more opportunities than anyone else because you are already quite experienced. You have done your PhD in a discipline, and you are much more focused, you're more matured, you know what you have done. I think postdoctoral researchers can easily, what you have to do, you have to try and apply for many places because there's competition. So there'll be a lot of people who will be applying, but the countries that I put in in my European map, I had pointed out many countries. I think you are in a very good position as a postdoctoral researcher. Just find labs that do your work and apply. I mean, you can apply to the US as well for you, because US welcomes a lot of postdoctoral researchers. Even in the UK, there are a lot of positions for postdoctoral researchers. So it's an easy way to come for postdoctoral.
Okay, thank you, Pansali ma'am. Hope gote queries khini apnaloke answer pale, jiman khini pare resource person help korise. So now, yes, we have a team without which this webinar would not have been possible. So I want to introduce our team. So our organizing committee. So Rupamani Das Hazarika Madam, she is our HOD, Department Zoology. Then Mr. Nilab Bhuya is the Associate Professor, Department Zoology. Then Dr. Dhiramani Bhuya, Assistant Professor, Department Zoology. Pallavi Duara, Assistant Professor, Department Zoology. Then I am Rosmirekha Soikia, Assistant Professor, Department Zoology. Dr. Hemakanson Fukon, Assistant Professor, Department Zoology. Dr. Luke Bahadur Chetri, Assistant Professor, Department Zoology. Dr. Saurav Kumar Das, HOD, Biotechnology Department. And Mr. Biswajyoti Sharma is the System Administrator of our college. So, sorry. Sorry for the inconvenience. Actually, something error happened. Actually, so now we are at the end of this webinar. Now I again call upon Pallavi Dwara Madam for vote of thanks. Okay, over to you.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. Honorable Principal Sir, resource person of today's webinar, Dr. Pansali Goswami, respected HOD, Rupamoni Das Hazarika, Zoology, and all the participants. It is such an honor to me to get the opportunity to thank you all. On behalf of Zoology Department, JB College Autonomous, I would like to extend my gratitude to our honorable resource person, Dr. Pansali Goswami, for her nice deliberation. Thank you for your inspiring and encouraging words. Special thanks to Dr. Bimal Bora Sir, Principal, JB College Autonomous, for providing immense support to make the webinar successful. I extend my gratitude to Rupa Ma'am, HOD Zoology, Dr. Rosmirekha Soikia, coordinator of this webinar, and all my colleagues for their contribution to make this webinar a great success. I would like to express my gratitude to all esteemed participants for their presence and contributions. I must thank all the members of organizing committee for their hard work to make this webinar successful. Thank you everyone for making it is a great success. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
ভাল লাগিলে
Pansali ba?
সবকে লগ
এতিয়া আমি
Thank you.
অকণমান ইনফৰ্মেলিও কৰিব পাৰো। So
কি ষ্টুডেন্টছ খিনিয়ে হোপফুলি মানে হেৰি পালে যিখিনি জানিব বিচাৰিছিলে
এইখিনিৰ আনসাৰ পালে আচলতে তাহাঁতিও বহুত মানে হেৰি হৈ আছিলে সুধিবৰ কাৰণে। So
হয়তো
আৰু এটা কথা মই নহয় এনাউন্স কৰি দিওঁ পাৰ্টিচিপেণ্টৰ কাৰণে। If someone is not getting feedback form in YouTube live, then we will post the feedback form in the WhatsApp group. Okay, কোনোবাই যদি নাই পোৱা ইউটিউব লাইভত তেতিয়া আমি হোৱাটছআপ গ্ৰুপতো দি দিম ফিডবেক ফৰ্মখন, সেইটোকে এনাউন্স কৰিব আছিলে। ওকে, সো
ঠিক আছে ৰশ্মি। ওকে, বাই
বাই, আকৌ লগ পাম কেতিয়াবা।
বাই।
Thank you once again.
Bye. No problem. My pleasure.
No,